Hey, I'm Veritech, and this is my Tech Yes or No review series, where I get my hands on a game or title, test it out, and give my thoughts on it. Today's review is on the Japanese role-playing title Ray Gigant. Originally released in Japan on PlayStation Vita in 2015, it was released in North America through the PlayStation Network earlier this year, with a ported version released on PC August 10th through Steam. Admittedly, I have zero experience with the Vita and PlayStation versions, so my review will be based solely on my playthrough of the PC version. I was provided a key by the developer and was not compensated in any other fashion, so my opinions are strictly my own and in no way influenced externally. Also, I have not completed the game yet, but I've invested several hours into it, so keep that in mind during the review. I saw Ray Gigant on Steam a few months back and added it to my wish list because the reveal and launch trailers both made the game appear to be very epic, both visually and musically, and I have an interest in JRPGs. This title appeared to have quite a bit of appeal to me, so when I received a key for the game, I jumped at the chance to play and review it. Alright, we'll start with the less than positive feelings I have for the game. Because it appears to be translated to English text and ported directly over to the PC, the audio sections of the game are pretty incomplete. There are sections where Japanese dialogue is randomly transfused behind the English text on screen, and other sections where it goes long periods without any sound or music whatsoever. For example,
ごめん。なんか一人で熱く語っちゃって。
Also, on the subject of music, the game's assumed awesome soundtrack is almost non-existent. There are portions of the songs that begin to play and then disappear like they were cut out of nowhere. The beginning of the gameplay starts uncoiling the plot of the title's story, but even though the game is touted as a dungeon crawler JRPG, it feels more like a visual novel that the player has zero impact in or control over, so we're reduced to reading line after line of text. When the battle tutorial finally kicked in, I was almost 15 minutes into the game. A few minutes of learning the combat system, and the Gigant just vanishes. More dialogue ensues, and then suddenly, from out of nowhere, the cinematic appeared. I have to admit, it's masterfully done, but because of the snail's pace of the first 15 minutes of my gameplay, it felt incredibly out of place. It did, however, get me amped up to play some more of the game. It took another 30 minutes and dozens of lines of dialogue to actually get to the first area where you're doing more than just reading text and selecting an area of the base of operations to go to. And this is where my opinion of the game started to change. Once in the first dungeon area, the movement system presents itself, and even though it's fairly rudimentary forward, back, and turn left, right, around, one map block at a time, I grew up on crude dungeon crawlers that had the same movement system. So I was presented with a pleasant feeling of nostalgia, and I began to get into the game more and more. There are no random monster encounters, and the dungeon map shows the entrance and final point of the dungeon, with all monster encounters and items highlighted. The player still has to navigate through the actual directions on the map, and some encounters are unavoidable, so there is a decent amount of exploring. Once the final Gigant has been defeated, the dungeon opens up and you can grind the map for experience, items, and enhancements repeatedly until your little heart's content. Alright, so there were a few things I like about the game. The level up system is fairly unconventional in the sense that you don't get weapons, armor, and spells through physical chests, but rather through leveling up your character's skill trees and unlocking them there. As each section of the tree progresses farther and farther, it requires more and more materials to level and unlock new sections. Also, each dungeon has an auto-move feature, where you can select a point in the dungeon you'd like to travel to, assuming you visited it and the entire path has already been discovered, and it will auto-move you there. Take note, however, that it will still run you into monster encounters along the way, so you have to battle through those, but it's much quicker and very helpful in efficiently grinding out dungeon maps while advancing your characters. Also, I do like the simplistic yet visually appealing look of the combat screens. There's nothing super crazy or animated about them, but they still were pleasing to me. The art style is anime-like and colorful, and my favorite part about the game? the slash beat mode. It's akin to a summon in the Final Fantasy series, or a super combo or special move in any other game. When the main character has enough SP to activate it, a quasi-rhythm minigame appears, and the player is able to perform a super powerful attack. Granted, you have to be fairly rhythmically inclined to successfully pull off a mega damaging SBM move, but I had a ton of fun timing my button presses to maximize damage output. It took a few tries, and I did die to bosses a couple times attempting to improve my ability to deal damage through the mode, but holy crap is it satisfying to land when pulled off. So in conclusion, am I gonna finish Ray Gigant? I plan on it because there was just enough there to keep me hooked. I felt like it played way too much like a visual novel at times, and not enough like an interactive gaming title or dungeon crawler JRPG like it was marketed, but it did have enough positive points to be engaging to me. My main complaint that will probably persist through the rest of my gameplay is the wonkiness and sometimes utter lack of audio and music. It just feels really incomplete. So, tech yes or no? At full price, no. There's not enough meat on the PC version to warrant paying $29.99 on Steam. But if it's ever in a bundle or part of a sale, and you can get it for half off or better, I would say go for it. It has plenty of potential to be a fairly large time sink, so you'll get quite a few hours of play out of it, but because of the glaring issues with audio, story pacing, and player engagement and interaction, there's still a few issues that would keep me from paying full price for the game. All in all, Ray Gigant was pleasant, albeit awkward at times. I did have a few issues with the game, but the visual appeal and actual dungeon crawling elements kept me appeased and engaged enough to enjoy the gameplay somewhat. Just don't go in expecting a typical action/crawler experience, because there are too many sections of visual novel to successfully pull it off. But if you do purchase the game, there's plenty of plot to get lost in. Again, my name is Veritech. If you've enjoyed this review, feel free to like and subscribe. If there's a title you want me to review, feel free to leave a comment and tell me what it is, and I'll do what I can to get my hands on it. We'll see you for the next Tech Yes or No installment, and keep on gaming.